All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Booner, and Lukas. It is Monday, June 9th, and we are back, ready to have a great week. Coming off a weekend, eventful weekend. Boys got to have some team bonding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got to watch the fights this weekend.
Not all the boys.
Yeah. Well, you know, Gentry, he was being
Too
soft.
far of a drive.
He was being
Far of a
soft.
drive, yeah.
Gentry was being soft a little bit. But it was a good weekend, man. We got to see the fights. We lost a bunch of money on UFC per usual, and yep. I'll just say this, hand up.
Jeff improves to 1-35.
I think I'll just say this. Okay. I really fought this weekend. I fought. I came up with a parlay for the boys, and 2 missed out of 3. And to be fair, one of them missed by 7 seconds. The other one just flat out lost. And Patchy Mix might be
Patchy is not the right. Yeah. Hype was not there. They brought him in. They said he's the next great thing. He is the next bust.
He might be the worst UFC fighter I've ever laid eyes on.
He might be the Anthony Bennett of the UFC.
Yeah, yeah.
Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. It'd be like someone with a stacked collegiate career. Yeah, then they get drafted and they just shit the bed. But Sean lost. That was brutal.
I want to say this. I want to say this real quick.
Absolutely.
Phil asked. He said, "Isn't Boone the bet knower?" We showed up to the establishment that we were at. I hit 4 straight bets on the night. I switched my tone after the 4 to Patty. Or is it Patty? Is that his name?
Oh,
What's his name? Patchy. I switched to Patchy. We get to the Patchy fight after I start 4-0 on the night. And this guy's it. He's it. So I do a bet on Patchy, and we have him in the parlay. I lose. The next fight, what are we thinking here, boys? What do you think? Jeff said something about, I think it was a guy by submission. No, it was submission.
He won that one.
Yeah, I hit that one. But the next one, it was the fight to go to a certain. I just missed boys, let's bet Sean O'Malley. After last fight, I said specifically, I will never bet Sean O'Malley again. Jeff says TKO, KO. I get away from my own brain, and I lose the rest of the money that I had. I started off 4-0, and then it all goes down the drain for Patchy and Sean O'Malley. So yeah,
Up-down theory.
Yeah, the up-down theory. Really, it's just don't follow Jeff. Just use your own brain, Booner theory. That's all I probably could have came down to. Like I should have bet. Yeah, I should have bet Rob. I said it last time they fought. I said I'll never bet Sean O'Malley again.
I said it on the show, man. My heart is with Sean O'Malley. My brain probably leaning Rob, but it just felt right. It did. It did. And by the way, shout out to the Michigan Panthers, dude.
Yes.
They're kind of quietly having success right now. So,
going to the championship game.
Yep, championship game. We had Bryce Perkins on the show, which
was
great.
back and he looked good, dude.
Yeah, he's been playing really well this year. So shout out to the Michigan Panthers. We weren't able to make the last game. We had other things we had to, we had business related things we had to handle. But then you know what? Now they get to play in the championship game. So big ups to them. Shout out to the Panthers. We went every game we went to. I think they won. We went to pretty much every home game, and I think they only lost one of those games. So shout out to them. Streams only says, unfortunately, DC Defenders will win it all. Their defense is far superior than ours. Yeah. All right. Farm says, any watch parties for the UFL Championship game on Saturday?
There might be. There was one for last week. We weren't able to attend. There was one on Sunday at DraftKings Sports and Social, which we typically are at. So they did that there. Maybe they'll do one this week, and I don't know. Maybe we'll show up on Saturday if it's Saturday. I don't know if Sunday's Father's Day, so I'm out on everything Sunday, boys. But Saturday could be. Do I have anything Saturday? I don't think so. No. Might golf in the morning, and then maybe a little Michigan Panthers watch party with the people at DraftKings if they're having it.
But we got a lot to get to. We had news break earlier in the day. Klotz was screaming into his phone. We posted that on our channel as well. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. That was great. We'll get to that later in the show. Jaire Alexander, now a free agent. We saw some lists ranking NFL GMs. It kind of does relate to the Jaire stuff. You'll see why later. And then we got some post OTA depth charts that I want to get to as well. And then we have some Pistons in the second hour. We're getting Sean Murphy on. You know, I see the Kevin Durant stuff on First Take. I'm seeing the Miles Turner stuff, which I kind of reacted to. So, you know, the Pistons are getting into kind of that time now, and the NBA Finals are live. It's 1-1 right now. Thunder tied it up. So it is kind of relevant what the Pistons are going to be doing. And
did you react to the Miles Turner? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I posted a short just talking about it.
Oh, I missed it, man.
Yeah, but well, I'll recap it. I'll get to it because
Okay.
I have some feelings on Miles Turner. I definitely want to get to. But first, let's start with the Tigers, man, because they beat the Cubs, won the series.
Yeah.
And the Tigers are still right now. Last time we talked about the Tigers, well, we had John on. We talked about the Tigers before that. We had a debate about the World Series. We got into a little back and forth about them. Really has changed much. They still look very good right now. And they still, again, and John kind of echoed the same sentiment I told you, Boone, and we got into a little back and forth about. I do believe the Tigers are going to add. So if I'm kind of basing my prediction outlook on that, assuming they do add someone, I like the Tigers, especially how they're structured. The bullpen. Again, you look at the pitching staff, you look at the depth they have a ton of depth. And even last year in the run they had, we had all the watch parties. And you saw like Tarek Schoolboy at times, even when he looked human, they just couldn't bail him out. They just didn't have enough. I think this year they do have more help. You still have Schoolboy playing the way he's playing. And if they go out and add, you have the resurgence of Javi Baez, Torkelson, so guys have gotten better. You just got Parker Meadows back. I like the Tigers. I do. And they're still, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on just what they've been doing. And then we'll get to an interesting question that I do have a lot of thoughts on because I'm going to give them some love in that conversation. But Tigers, as advertised right now, they are.
They are. I'll say this. The one thing I took from this weekend, and I'm sure a lot of people kind of felt the same way, is, and this is what I've been saying all along with the Tigers, it's when you get into the postseason and when you play teams like the Cubs, the Dodgers, Yankees, like when you play these teams, the way like the teams that win it, especially like just the elite teams that they play each other, you win off pitching.
Yep.
You know both teams can hit. It's who puts out the best pitchers and how are your pitchers playing. And I think like you got to see that on this last weekend, like in full display. The two games that the Tigers win, Tarek Schoolboy and Jack Flaherty. And when they threw out their best pitcher, they win that game Saturday. So like you look at it and you're like, okay. And I told my cousin this too after the series last night. This Tigers team can win a World Series. What needs to happen is they need to make sure that bullpen is good to go. Maybe get another pitcher in there, like a solidified guy in there that can get you to the end of a game. Get another batter, maybe hopefully, or another right-handed, just absolute dog. Maybe like a third baseman. The to me though, like the whole equation about winning the World Series here is Reese Olson healthy, and is I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. My guy. Why am I drawing a blank right now, boys?
Your guy. I don't know who your guy is.
Erling?
No, I'm. Why am I drawing a blank? Hold on, let me pull it up. No, boys.
Who's your guy? Now I'm confused.
Why am I? No, someone help me out here. Why am I drawing a blank on the young fella? Someone help me. Not Casey Mize. Not Casey Mize.
If I knew who your guy was, I would tell you. I don't know.
My guy. My guy, my pitcher, my young fella, Jackson Jobe. I don't know why I couldn't think of Jackson Jobe.
Now I know.
But no, if Jackson Jobe's healthy, I told my cousin this last night. I said, if Jackson Jobe gets healthy and he's healthy down the stretch in the playoffs, and you have those four guys right there, you're winning a World Series. Like if those four guys are healthy, who's beating you in a 7-game series? I don't see like, yeah, you can have the Dodgers roll anyone out they can. Do they have the pitching right now to do it? No, they don't. And it's like this Tigers team, they just went up against the Cubs. Again, the two best teams, or you could say the two top 5 teams in baseball. And you win because you won the pitching battle. Like that's all it's going to come down to. And I think that's the biggest thing with this Tigers team. And I think like what I've been saying, or what I feel like a lot of Tigers fans have been saying, is, hey, if your pitching is on point and guys are healthy down the stretch or over the next couple months, this run's going to keep going. So once you get Jackson Jobe back, I think he has a finger issue right now. Once he gets back and those guys are fully healthy, Reese Olson, I like that this weekend kind of it pumped me up a little bit to see that because it kind of showed, hey, this is how you're going to win games when it comes to the playoffs. So that's why I like these series. I like the series versus like the absolute dogs, dude.
Yeah,
I enjoy them.
Yeah, especially if clarity looks like that yesterday.
I think too. I saw a stat, and you know what? Let me pull it up real quick. I think it was Mark Ryan, which I love Mark Ryan. He does. I think he does a good job. Let me pull it up because he put out a tweet today. And I thought it was pretty interesting because I think it was us that had the conversation last week about can the Tigers actually beat teams like the Dodgers, the Yankees, Padres? Can they beat them? This is what he said. He said the Detroit Tigers have had 6 series against top 10 teams this season. The Dodgers, Mariners, Yankees, Padres, Giants, and Cubs. 6 different series, boys. What do you guys think the record in those series are out of the 6? How many of those series out of 6 do you think they've won? Top 10 teams in baseball.
I'll say 4.
Repeat it, Boone.
The top 6 teams in base, or 6 of the top 10 teams in the baseball. How many series do you think they've won out of that?
I'll say 4 and 2.
I'd probably say 5. I feel like they've really only lost. I think the Dodgers. Who else have they lost to?
Yeah, so they went 5-1 in those series.
Yeah.
They've played those 6 teams, and in those series they're 5-1. 6 of the top 10 teams in baseball is who they've played. So like. You have to be able to like look at that and say, yeah, the Dodgers are a powerhouse. Oh, the Yankees are. When you have pitching, there's no. And you know what? I might bring some Kool-Aid when it comes to the playoffs. I don't know. There's a lot of games in the playoffs, but I'm starting to get a little bit of a feeling.
Got to bring a rake, Boone. You got to bring a rake.
No,
Kool-Aid for the Lions.
I don't know. I'll figure something out, but I don't rake. I don't. What would a rake do? What am I raking up?
They always get extra base hits. They always go rake. Carry on. Never mind. Save for. I just bringing up options.
I was like, where did the rake come from? I think they're chopping. I think they're cutting.
Yeah, I know,
something.
but they say rake.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I don't know. That was a good brainstorm session on the air, which I didn't like the rake.
Yeah, orange Kool-Aid and a rake.
Don't like the rake. The rake doesn't equivalent to Kool-Aid. We need to find something better.
Yeah, I mean,
we can keep this thing rolling, Klotz. We think about it. We got until October.
I think you have a serious conversation when it comes to the Tigers because of where they're at, which it's a great conversation. I mean, they're playing as well as they're playing. They're World Series contenders. You know, record-wise, it speaks for itself. You don't even have to say anything about that. And they're winning all these games against other great teams, like you just pointed out, 5-1 in those 6 series. You're looking at the Tigers, and you're looking at the Lions, because the Lions they're kings. And football's king in general. But in terms of a team that everyone feels is the closest, it's always the Lions. But then the Tigers emerge. And now we're having debates on even the fact that we're even talking about beating the Dodgers. I think it's just fun. I think it's been a long time coming. So now you have an interesting question in which the heavyweights discussed. Shout out to Easy and Spenny. And I think it's a great thing to talk about. Is who is more likely to win this year in their respective sport? What would be, I don't like using the word easier, but more likely. The Tigers winning the World Series or the Lions winning a Super Bowl. Those are the 2 options. And I thought about this. And I went back and forth on it because I kept. I think there's arguments for both sides. I think when I finally came down to my conclusion, I think it's the Tigers. It's more likely because, and the points that the heavies brought up, I 150% agree with, because football, as much as we've seen crazy things happen because it is one game, the fact that is even an option should scare people. Like, that's why upsets are a thing in the NFL. That's just why teams go, yes, this is why teams, when they make the playoffs, you have to be your best in multiple games in a row, and you get one chance to do it. Even if you're playing well for most of the game, hey, check out the Seahawks. Not giving Marshawn Lynch the fucking football. they lose.
You don't get a second chance, too, man.
It's literally moments in a Super Bowl and in a
Yeah.
playoff run. Lions obviously lost last year to the Commanders, but just in history, it is. The Tigers, you have more opportunities, yes, but I even take it a step further. In my opinion, I think they're closer to the top than the Lions are. And my reasoning for that is in the AL, you're not really debating who's the best team. You're looking at the Tigers. And I know there might be a Rob Parker shot to him that says the Yankees, and there might be some out there. Maybe ask anyone in New York, they feel it's the Yankees. I think most would agree it's the Tigers. In the NFC, you're still looking at the Eagles. Like you're still looking at, even Klotz brings up the Rams, which we disagree with, but there's still arguments to be had. Like I think the Lions are both contenders, but what is more likely, fellas, in my opinion, I would lean with the Tigers. And this is assuming they add, obviously, because they still have time to add and they still have a little more work to do. But on paper, they can do it. I'm going to go with the Tigers. More likely to happen. Them winning it, even though I've said I don't think they will, but more likely, I got to give it to the Tigers over the Lions here.
Yeah, that was a good caveat there.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but more like, so you don't think either team will?
No, well, it's more likely. If I'm being honest.
No, you could say it.
My confidence in the Lions has gone
Just don't
down.
say 0% like Klotz. That will get me fired up.
I'm not doing that. That's why I posed the question the way I posed it. More likely. More likely.
I think the biggest thing out of all of it, and it's weird too, because and I wanted to pull up. I pulled up here. I don't know why they have it. Yeah, they do have it actually. I'm interested to see the conferences. What are the odds for each team to win the conference? I'm talking about the Lions and the Tigers. And when you do look at it, it is just shocking to see in baseball, the American League, the Yankees have odds-on favorite at plus 190 to go to the World Series, and the Tigers plus 320. But then the next favorite drops all the way down to plus 700. And it's significant. It's like the Astros. And think about it too. The biggest thing too with that is the Tigers and Astros played in the playoffs last year. And guess who won? The Tigers did. So it's the next best team in the AL. Tigers already beaten the playoffs with the probably you would say a worse team. They're even better now. And then you look at the Lions when it comes to the NFC. To win the NFC, it's Eagles plus 380, Lions plus 500, and then the Rams is a far drop to plus 900. So I mean, I'm actually, if I'm being honest, Jeff, I think the two things that really shift me towards the Tigers is the biggest thing that you said. It's when it comes down to it, it's a series. It's not hey, if you get to the World Series, you're against the Dodgers, it's 7 games. It's not like a win or go home game to where you're going up against their ace versus your ace, and you have to somehow, if Ohtani hits a walk-off bomb, you're going home. No, it's he can do that in game 1. You still have 3 or 4 more games to kind of combat that. And then I think the other thing is, I think honestly there's both points. I think there's only 2 points to the whole thing. I think it's that and just the AL. You've already shown you can beat the Yankees. You're probably, in my opinion, not the odds-on favorite to win the AL. I would say right now, though, if you asked 100 people, 80 of those people would pick the Tigers to win the AL. Yeah. And you haven't, like you said, you haven't added anything. So I think the Lions are ahead when it comes to roster and development, because they're at the point right now, they have drafted over the last few years. They're giving extensions out right now. Tigers haven't really had to worry about all of that, and they're still going out there and finding talent to fill in. But they just have, to me, it's the path, man. And it's easier. I'm not saying it's easier to win a World Series, but it kind of is, because you have that series. It's hard to win a Super Bowl, dude. You make one mistake, like you said, you're done. It's over. Season's over. Boom. You're going home. You're going to Cabo. You're on your way to Mexico, man.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it just simply comes down to, I have a lot more confidence in the Tigers making the World Series. I still don't think they win it. I still think the Dodgers are the best team in baseball right now. I think the Tigers are going to be close and getting closer to that. And I do think that the Tigers in the next couple of years will win a World Series. Don't think it happens this year. But I think there's, again, if I had to put my confidence in the Tigers making the World Series, probably an 80% chance. I think the Yankees can give them a run for their money. But then again, Boone, you just brought up, we saw the Tigers beat the Yankees, and I just think the Tigers right now are playing in the AL at least. They know who they are, and they got the best chemistry. They got all the momentum that they need. I know it's a long season, but when you have the managers that they do, they're going to just keep rolling. And I think with the Lions, they're going to be a good team. They'll make a playoff run, but I don't see them making the Super Bowl. I don't see them having much of a chance to make the Super Bowl, win a couple games. But again, I just have a lot more faith in the Tigers than I do the Lions.
Well, the difference too, like in the NFL, the way that this is why I love the NFL is because how it's structured. There's such parity in football because of a salary cap, because they have it set up that way. So there's a lot of teams in a similar tiers. In baseball, there's not a salary cap. So, and I know you have Chris Ilitch, so that changes things. But typically, if you got an owner that's aggressive, you can be aggressive. Like in the NFL, you're kind of handicapped. You know what I mean? You can't just go out and whoever the richest owner has the biggest advantage. No, everyone's equally has the same opportunity pretty much. You know what I mean? It's just like Brad has all this cap space. He ain't going to use it. You know what I mean? He's got all these guys he has to extend. So
he'll carry stuff over.
It's not like Brad can go be like, hey, Trey Hendrickson, come on over here. Hey, Jalen Ramsey, get on over here, and we'll re-sign all our guys. Like, that's just not how it works. So it's a little different. It's hard to win a Super Bowl, man. I mean, it's hard to win a World Series, but it's the one and done setup. It's the parity of the NFL. It's injuries because of how physical the game is. There's so many things. I mean, referees, we can agree, like in football, like I know we've seen, especially because it's one game, calls.
I think the series is what does it. Because you could have an ump make a call in a game and cost you a game. Again, you have more. This is a 7-game series. But when it comes to football, we've seen it all the time happen, not just in the Super Bowl, but in the playoffs, going on playoff runs. Like teams, think about the Ravens, how long it's taken them to even get to a Super Bowl. And they've had the roster, they've had everything. And they're the 49ers, they still haven't won one. It's hard to do. And I know in baseball, it's typically those teams like the Dodgers who typically win. But I feel like more often than not, you see potentially like teams that aren't spending that much that can find a way to get it done. It's like in the NBA right now, like you have the two small markets that don't spend the money and they made it there. It's because it's 7-game series. And if it wasn't a 7-game series, you could argue that they potentially wouldn't be there. Look at the Thunder versus the Nuggets. They have to go to game 7 and the Nuggets kind of were dominating that series. It felt like until the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's even like the NBA finals. I mean, the Pacers won game 1 off a game winner and they still were like, okay. And they tied it up. Like, it's okay. Like things, it's just how it is. I mean, when you have more games, typically you're giving the better team a chance to win that series.
Yeah,
you're giving them like, hey, you can crap the bed and still win the series. It's just not like that in football. If you don't show up, dude, you're screwed. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. But hey,
it's an interesting conversation. The fact at the end of the day that there's a conversation of the Tigers and Lions, who's going to win, who's more likely to win a Super Bowl this year, and they're both like top 5 in odds to win their respected league. Or it's insane. It's legit. And the Pistons are on the up and up. It's nuts actually.
Well, I mentioned showing up and taking a crap and still finding ways to win. I don't think the Packers are going to show up, take a crap, and find ways to win. I think they're just going to show up and take a crap, to be honest with you, because the Packers offseason, if I'm a Packers fan, I don't know how you're happy with what the Packers have done. I just don't. Have they made moves? Yeah. They signed Aaron Banks, the guard. They signed Hobbs, the corner. They drafted Matthew Golden. But
they have not improved. They've gotten worse.
Not improved to the point. Like, you're looking at a stacked NFC North.
Yeah.
The Bears, and I know the Bears, again, we had this discussion with the offseason, who won the offseason. The Bears had to add. Like, right, the Vikings had to add. Even though they won 14 games, they still had to add, they had holes in their roster. So those teams are going to be more aggressive. But even the Lions, they are better than the Packers. They have a better roster than the Packers, and they still went out and made some moves. They replaced guys that needed to be replaced. The Packers, they haven't found a solution to this Jaire Alexander stuff. Everyone knew he was on his way out. Everyone knew Jaire Alexander was not going to be a Packer by the start of the season. And what did they do at cornerback? Absolutely nothing. Besides, I think they signed again Hobbs from Vegas. Nate Hobbs, his name is. Good,
solid nickel. You already have one in Keyshawn Mixon.
But it's like, guys, in this NFC North, in this conference, in this NFC North, you have not moved the needle. And today it was announced, we posted on our socials that here, I'll pull it up. Jaire Alexander was released. Straight up released. And I have the odds too for all the teams that because I thought this was cool. 33rd team put out his next team odds. And you guys can check this out. Here, let me pull this up. All right. The teams that are more likely to sign Mr. Jaire Alexander. These are the teams.
49ers. Wow.
So the 49ers are plus 400, Raiders plus 400, Rams plus 550, Dolphins plus 600, Eagles plus 750, Panthers plus 900, Chargers plus 1,200, Patriots plus 15, and the Lions are tied with the Patriots at plus 1,500. So, yeah, the Lions shit, guys. Like, we got it. We got it.
So it was never happened. There's a 0% chance of it happening.
Yeah, we got to stop with that.
I tweeted out from our account today just so I could quote tweet it and be like, no, like, let's not do this. You know what I mean? It was just like, let's get this out here and just end it right away. And there's no chance that Jaire. I mean, by the way, our corner room's full. Like it's like completely full.
Man.
Yeah. There's no way you're like, oh, let's just bring Jaire in to compete. It's full. It like. If they sign Jaire Alexander and they don't bring Zadarius Smith back, or they don't get Matthew Judon or Jadeveon Clowney, we're going to Allen Park and we're gonna have to sit down and say, Brad, what are we doing here? Like where's our priorities at this point? Like it makes no sense. So I don't even think, honestly, I don't think there's probably one thought of like a cent of Brad Holmes being like, yeah, let's bring Jaire in. I don't even think there was a conversation. Shouldn't be.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. The dude's been Jaire Alexander probably peaked and then he fell off, I'd say, after 2023. After 2023, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. I want to say over the last 4 matchups that the Lions have had with him, with the Packers, he's ducked out of 3 of them. So when you talk about needing to be there for your team, going up against the best team in the NFC North and the Lions, he hasn't been available. We saw what happened with Carlton Davis with the Lions, where, at some point he's going to get injured. You saw it happen, just like we all thought, and you need him in the playoff game. And you're going to have to spend a bag on him. A bag. And not to mention, he's not the most quiet player. I understand that we like confident cornerbacks, but Jaire Alexander, when you're playing at the level that he is, like he used to be up there with Denzel Ward as some of the best corners in the NFL. Denzel Ward is playing at a much higher level than Jaire Alexander up to this point. So you're going to be overpaying for somebody that's going to be walking in, causing a distraction when his play isn't canceling it out. So I'm very, very against Jaire. I'm happy he's gone from the Packers just because they have absolutely nobody besides Xavier McKinney in that secondary. And then up front, they got Rashawn Gary, who just keeps getting slower and slower and slower in production. They got
until he faces Decker, though. Sometimes,
yeah, I don't know. Decker sometimes has some rough games against the Pack, but we move. I still have confidence the Lions are going to sweep the Packers this year. Like I said, I thought going into this offseason, it was like by default the Packers would be the second best team in the NFC North, and I think they finished last now. Like Jordan Love, that wide receiver core, like it seemed like a nice idea, but it's going to take a second. It's going to be the Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs show, and their secondary is going to be getting lit up. So they just won't have enough.
Yeah,
on their depth chart, their starting left corner is Carrington Valentine. I don't know who Carrington Valentine is. Maybe I should know. I don't know who the man is. But on ESPN, they have him as their starting left corner. Maybe it's someone else, but just the fact that guy is even in that conversation. Carrington, no offense to Carrington, but hey, you know what? I'm not even that worried. Like, it doesn't make me mad or anything. It's just like good for them. Like they got worse.
Can I show you guys something? This is by the way, this is for all the people that even have a thought in their mind. Not saying that Lions fans do for the most part. I think most would not. But I found this clip here, and it's a great clip for a refreshment of those who may be on board with signing Jaire. For those who don't remember, last season, the Packers faced the Panthers. Okay? He is from Charlotte. He was not announced as a team captain before the game. He walked out with the team captains anyway and did the coin toss. He almost lost it, won it, and then they interviewed him after the game about doing it anyway, even though he wasn't a team captain. And tell me if this is a Dan Campbell guy. I'm going to play this clip. Tell me, for those who may even have interest in him. This is Jaire after the game.
So were you supposed to be a captain? Because the team announces the 3 game captains, and you were the 4th, and you called a toss. What happened there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's only suiting. I don't think Coach knew I was from Charlotte.
So you just did that on your own?
I mean, it was like the guys backed me up. So they knew I was from here.
Did you realize you almost made a big mistake on the call, though?
What'd I do?
Well, you said we want to go on defense.
Yeah.
Which, in theory, they could have said, then you're electing to kick off, which you would have lost the opportunity then to receive in the second half.
Yeah, no, I told them that. I said I want our defense to be out there, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, it's pretty simple what I said. Like, I want the defense to be out there. They like, you mean defer? I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Did he say that to you?
Yeah, he did.
The mic was on. And
was?
He heard you.
Oh, really? No, he was just like, defer? I was like, yeah. Everybody was like, yeah. Everybody was laughing. I'm like, what y'all laughing at? Like, it's pretty obvious what I'm asking for.
So did anyone say anything to you when you got back to the sideline?
Why would they?
I mean, like, this guy, that guy, Dan Campbell, they deal with that guy? Hell no, dude.
I would like to ask in the chat, can someone, if anyone's like, yeah, we'll love Jaire Alexander, just put like yes.
I think
I would love.
Our community is pretty smart. I think they would.
I'm interested to see if there's anyone, because I feel like it's like a 0%.
There's no
like we're talking about it. It might feel like one of those things where it's like I didn't see anyone on Twitter that was like, yes, bring him to Detroit. There was not. I have not seen one reply or one comment that says bring him to Detroit. Not one. Not one.
I don't think there will be one on this show. If there was, I know Weezy, he has to be trolling.
He for sure is trolling.
Weezy
D. I mean, he does have some brutal takes, but
Weezy D, no way. You're trolling. Nick P says I want Jalen Ramsey. Like, even he's.
I would rather have Jalen Ramsey over Jaire.
Yeah, like he's another one that's he's unpredictable sometimes, but I don't think he's ever done that. I
think Jalen Ramsey, though, to me has been like a leader on a Super Bowl team. Jalen Ramsey might be like an outspoken guy, and he is like yes, and but Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, is like a legit captain. Like that man, like he knows what it takes to work or to win, and he knows what it takes to motivate. I do like Jalen Ramsey. I don't hate him.
He Ryan would love it for the vibes.
Yeah.
I would not want that dude. That's why DJ Reed, you look at like who they signed. DJ Reed is the exact opposite as a person as that dude. Whatever that was, what he just pulled. And it made me think too, the Packers, man, like telling you, I told you fellas, I think the Packers are last in the division. Okay. I don't know if you guys, I think some of you guys had them third. I think Booner has officially said it.
I think I had them when we did our NFC offseason. I had them last. So, we haven't done our official things yet. You guys keep throwing these out there. We haven't done an official segment on it.
Well, you only know my first and I kind of have given it most.
No, yeah, you've definitely you've tipped your cap.
You know exactly.
I know what Klotz's is too. I know what both of your guys' are.
But the Packers they're gonna. I tell you this, the Packers this year. I think the games will be tough. I think week 1's going to be tough because it's divisional. It's always going to be a battle. But the Packers this year, man, they'd be lucky to win 11 games. I think that's like a great season.
That's
10 games. 10 games, they'd be like, hell yeah, we got.
I mean, they'll still win like 8 or 9, but this division's each team's gonna have 8 or 9 minimum.
We haven't even got to Jordan Love. I mean, that's the other one we talk about. But yeah, the Jaire thing, man, good. I'm glad he's going. I'm not that it mattered. He never plays, but I don't know what the Packers are going to be doing. And there was a thing I read too. They had a trade on the table. The Bills were interested, I guess, in trading.
I don't know why they didn't just do any trade. Can we pull up?
I don't know
the next segment, because I feel like the next segment really coincides with this. If I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, okay.
I think it goes hand in hand. That's why. It's honestly, it feels disrespectful after what just happened in the last 24 hours to this now.
So, top 10 GMs. Okay, and this list is from Roto World. It's it's basically like a football page. It has it's got 350,000 followers. So it's kind of like a big football kind of network. on X, and they did a top 10 GM list. Okay, here's their top 10 GMs in the league. Number 1, Howie Roseman. Number 2, Brett Veach. Okay, we had this debate, right? Okay. Number 3, Les Snead. Okay, top 3, whatever. 4, Eric DaCosta. Okay, I think he's a little high, but that's fine. Whatever. Brian Gutekunst is 5. 6 is Brad Holmes. 7 is John Lynch. 8, Brandon Beane. 9, John Schneider. He's too low. And then Jason Light.
Jason Light's too low, too.
He is too low. I think he's better than I would take him over Gutekunst.
Gutekunst, for some reason. Okay, first of all, your last name sounds like the slur for a vagina or something like that. He's no way in hell you're putting him top 5. How far has he gotten with the Packers as a GM?
The farthest he's gotten would be multiple NFC Championship games with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and that was like after Super Bowl win. And then you go and just back to the fact of what have they done over the last 5 years to do anything like prove it? Like they had a good game against the Dallas Cowboys. Great. That's any team who goes up against the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. You go and you have a cute game against the Niners, and then you fall off the next year. Like I understand they weren't bad, but you can see that this team is just shell of themselves. I would say over the last 3 years, the Packers have not really improved anywhere. They've stayed at the same level. It's almost like they've been in the same spot as the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just they have a more sexy approach on it when you look at the head coach and quarterback when they're offensive guys. But where really are the Packers and Steelers different from each other at this point? They're not. Like, for a fact, the Packers are not winning the division. For a fact, they're not making the Super Bowl / making a Super Bowl run. The same thing with the Steelers. And you pretty much had the same feeling about it going into the same position last year and the year before. But then they just were still average. They've been average. And I don't think that anything's changing with the Packers anytime soon. When you have Jordan Love, could be good. Not going to see it consistently. I think the same thing could be said with Matt LaFleur as a head coach. He's a good head coach, but you're not winning a Super Bowl with Matt LaFleur. So they're just going to stay probably at a 8 to 11 win team for the next 3 to 4 seasons, in my opinion, unless they get rid of Love.
They're all in. They're all in on Jordan Love. Like even this comment, who dat says they're banking on Jordan Love to take the next step. Like when they had that playoff run where they lost to the 49ers, which Jordan Love threw a bad pick at the end of the game, they at least had a good run because Jordan Love was playing well, and then after that, they haven't really been able to figure it out. And a lot of it does ride on Jordan Love, man. Like he was disappointing last year, and Boone brings it up all the time when we talk about Jordan Love, and he's right. He's just inconsistent. He's too inconsistent. Like he'll have games where he looks very good. I was in attendance for one of those games, and then he has other games where it's like, who is this guy? But is that there's a lot of reasons for that. But yeah, Brian Gutekunst as a GM, there is no way in hell he's top 5. If you want to put him top 10, fine. But he's not better than Brad Holmes. He's not better than John Lynch. He's not better than John Snyder. He's not better than Jason Light. Like that dude's at 9 or 10, if he's even on the list.
Yeah.
John Lynch. Oh.
Like, no.
All right. Can we just who wrote this? Pat?
Roto
this guy's
Pat.
name's
Well,
Pat?
it's a company. Roto Pat, I guess. Roto World
is the guy call himself Pat and he has Roto at the front?
I think so. Yes, he's an NFL writer for NBC Sports.
Okay. This is the worst list of all time. Am I wrong, boys? Like this is like the worst ranking I think I've ever seen. Brian Gutekunst. He took over the team in 2018, and he took over a team with Aaron Rodgers, and then they won 3 straight division titles. And when Aaron Rodgers left, he's tried to like rebuild this thing up. And in that same time, since 21, since Brad got back in there, Aaron Rodgers has left. Brad Holmes took over one of the worst rosters in NFL history. Like, not an exaggeration. One of the worst rosters in NFL history. Took it over. They won 3 games year 1. 3 games. Brian Gutekunst took over a roster that was already built. They lost a quarterback, added a new one, same roster that won 3 straight division titles, right? Basically same roster. They lost some guys here and there. And the trajectory of the team went down. While the Brad Holmes comes in and his trajectory went up.
Yep.
They have won. Let me tell you this, boys. A GM that took over the worst roster in almost NFL history came in, and in the last 4 or 5 seasons since 2021 has won 39 games. Brian Gutekunst, who took over he took over in 2018, but since 21, since Brad took over, an already built roster has had 41 wins.
That's crazy.
Two wins behind after taking over one of the worst rosters in football. 2 wins. There isn't a planet, a world, anything you can sit on and look me dead in my eyes and put an argument up that Brian Gutekunst is better than Brad Holmes. They are not on the same planet. They're not in the same atmosphere. They're not in the same solar system. They are nowhere near each other as good. Brian, good. I think he's a good GM. Again, you can argue him 8, 9, 10 if you want to go 7. But there's a gap between those two. One GM took over a team and completely flipped the organization around. The other GM took over an organization and a team that was already built and hasn't done anything with them. Has done nothing. Brad has taken this team to an NFC Championship game before Brian Gutekunst took his team. I don't think Brian Gutekunst has been to an NFC Championship game since 2018. Oh, lost conference 1 year. Oh, sorry, with Aaron Rodgers, and then he leaves, and then guess what? They lose in the divisional, then they don't make the playoffs, and then they lose in the divisional, and then they lose in a wild card. There's levels to this. Brian, you're on a whole different level, and I'm not talking above. You're 5 levels lower than Brad Holmes, and there's a gap.
Yeah, and that's with to who that's comment. Like that's with Brad Holmes getting out all of the trash. All due respect, like he had to get
they had a 3-win season.
Yeah, like that.
And they had only 2 less wins.
That was like 2 years of recycle, like getting out all the bad stuff, the bad contracts, the players from that Patricia era, and they still have won more games. Like that's
Since Brad's taken over outside of year 1, they haven't won a division. Like Brad's came in and said, "Take a back seat, bud. This is my division now." I think bottom line.
I think Brad should be 4. I think he should be probably 4 on this list. I would take him over Eric DeCosta, and I like Eric DeCosta. I think he's a really good DM, but yeah, he should be. I think I would put Brad Holmes 4.
When we did ours, I think at least I had Brad at 4.
Yeah, I think we all had him at 4, or I think we all had him at 4 or 5. But but the first 3 fair. But after that, this is
Brian Gutekunst. I mean, we had John Lynch up there.
Even John Lynch at 7 is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, it's the disrespect to Brad Holmes, man. Like again, you could criticize him for anything you want. He's obviously every GM's not perfect, but what you ain't gonna do is rank Brian Gutekunst over him. There's no way.
I would love to just hear an explanation. And again, it's not just that he's above Brad. Like, again, we can keep Brad at 5, but at least like John Lynch there and just the fact that Brian's at 4. I think it's more so the argument that Brian is at 4 and he's not even the best GM in his own division. And you have him at 4. That's the problem that I have. I would love to just know that. Like, what makes you think, especially coming off one of probably, in my opinion, one of their worst off seasons and his worst off seasons that he's had since being the GM. What makes you think that? Like, I can't wrap my head around it.
Let's see. Cartier says Lions top of tier 2 until he cashes a Super Bowl. I think he's talking about the Lions, though, not Brad Holmes. I don't know what he said. If we only make a Super Bowl, then we need multiple Super Bowl appearances. Tom, I think he's talking about the Lions, tier 2.
Gotcha.
I mean, tiers are an interesting conversation because it's like, who are you? What are we doing to tiers? Who you put in there? Yeah, like I don't really know what your tiers would be.
How many tiers?
Tier about GMs: Eagles, Chiefs, Rams, Bucks, tier 1 GMs.
I would take the Bucks out.
Well, they won, but it was with Tom Brady. I mean,
that roster was.
Yeah. I mean, that roster is nuts, but he built the roster.
Yeah, but then like, what has he done since Tom's left?
If you want, I don't mind the GMs. You got to put Brad. You got to put Brad in that conversation. At least in that.
I would agree.
Yeah, just because, and I get they haven't gotten to a Super Bowl, but just based on what he's done, like the turnaround, I think you gotta give him credit there. But if you want to say only tier 1 guys have won Super Bowls, okay, then that's your tiers then yeah, he would be top of tier 2. He'd be in the tier without making Super Bowls. Bottom line says Vikings GM over Packers GM. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but
I hate that fact. Kwesi, I think it is. I hate the fact that conversation comes up. Like, it's just because he's made so many mistakes. Kwesi has, and he's drafted. Like, if you go back and look at some of his draft classes, it's kind of brutal, to be honest. And he's traded so many picks. He's just constantly trading out of his pick, trying to add more assets. But then when he uses those assets and he actually does draft, can you guys name me someone like outside of free agency? I don't think he's drafted anyone really good.
Yeah, that the
JJ McCarthy is his biggest one. I don't even know if that was him.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it was, but
the J-Mo trade was bad. That was a bad look.
He started in 2022
because he traded for the safety scene out of Georgia, and it flopped. So that was a bad one. But he like Ivan Pace Jr., Dallas Turner,
Jordan Addison. His first year, he didn't draft. I don't think he drafted a starter. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks. I guess he's drafted Jalen Naylor.
Yeah, he's solid.
Ed Ingram, guard. I guess Brian Asamia. I don't know, dude. I don't think he's
Asamoah. I like Asa, but
but dude, just go pull up his draft picks and you'll sit there and just go like, dude, what has this guy done?
Well, yeah,
compared
JJ
to like Brad,
hits,
who's like drafting all pro players.
If JJ hits, he'll look a lot better because that roster, But yeah, Brian Asamoah, I liked him, but he hasn't really contributed that much. He's not a starter. So, but Ivan Pace, if he drafted him, he's a starter. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This list is it's terrible. It's a terrible list. I think it poses, and it really does tie into the question. It's not really a Brad Holmes as much conversation, but it's more about the Lions. And I thought I'd bring this up today so we can have this discussion. I don't think we've had this discussion yet. We've talked a lot about the offense and defense, but I wanted to ask you guys in the chat, in 2025, now we can actually have this conversation, which is crazy coming off last year. Like last year, there really wasn't a conversation. Now we can probably have it more so. When the season ends, in your guys' opinion, who will rank higher? The Lions offense or the Lions defense? Because you have an offense they both the new coordinators, but the Lions offense, a lot of returning pieces. The Lions defense, a lot of returning pieces. But then the Lions just lose Frank Ragnow. They're retooling their offensive line. So we expect them to have a top 10 unit in both. But what side of the ball will rank higher, in your guys' opinion? And do you think it's close? Do you think it's a good conversation, or you think it's
I think it's a solid conversation. I think you could draw something from both sides, but I'll go first. I'll just make it easy.
Let me say this. I'll go first. I'll tell you I'll tell you what I have. I think if in my opinion, I am very high on Kelvin Shepard. I think Kelvin Shepard is going to be a very good defensive coordinator. If I'm being honest, I think he's the most intriguing one to me. With him and John Morton, I'm like, what can Kelvin do? I think he's going to be a really good DC. And he's got pieces. He's got Aiden coming back. But the thing I think he's battling, unfortunately, is some of the guys that do play a lot. A couple of those guys are coming back from injury, like specifically Lee McNeil won't be back for a handful of games. Malcolm Rodriguez, I know he's not a starter, but still a contributor, won't be back for a couple games. They still have to figure out this Anzo stuff. And then you have question marks like Terran Arnold in his second year. What is he going to look like? Ennis Rakestraw. Davenport, there's more question marks on defense. So as much as I love Kelvin, I got to give it to the offense. I think the offense is going to rank higher, in my opinion. I just think with all the pieces they have, I think they'll both be, this is where I'm at with the offense. I think they'll be a top 10 unit. If I had to give you an actual ranking, I think they'll be somewhere between 6 and 8, somewhere in that range. I think top 5 would be a great year for the offense if they're top 5 again, but they'll still be top 8 in my opinion. And I think the defense will be probably somewhere if everything goes right. And that would be obviously Davenport staying healthy, Aleem getting back, looking really good, Taron Arnold taking that step. I think they can be a top 12 unit and probably peak top 10, top 9. But I think the offense will ultimately beat them out this year. I just think with the guys they already have in place, like Jared Goff is the biggest one. He's already going to be there. He already has rapport with all these weapons. You know what I mean? They're returning, like Jahmyr Gibbs, like hand the ball off to Jahmyr. I know the offensive line's probably the bigger question mark, but I think with all the weapons they have, and I do think you have to factor in Johnny Moe's. If you're worried about the offense, you got to factor in a little bit. They're familiar with Johnny Moe a little bit. So I'm going to lean. I think the offense will beat them out this year when it comes to who will be a better unit. But I think Kelvin over the next couple of years is going to build a very good defense. But this year, I'm going to go offense. I think the offense is slightly higher than the defense this year.
I'm going offense as well. I just think for me, both coordinators are a question mark. I have more faith in Kelvin. Doesn't mean that John Morton's going to be bad. But for me, injuries do play a factor. But I'm imagining if both these squads are healthy. And I think when you just go down the line, offensive line, top 10 to 12. Wherever you want to rank it in between there, I think that's kind of the range that they fall to. Wide receiver core, top 5. Running backs, as far as the running back core, top 1. Tight end, top 5. Quarterback, top 10. And I think that's being generous as far as if you want to rank Goff low, you're going to rank him 10th, and I don't think you can rank him any lower than 10. When you go to this defensive line unit, think overall, probably a top 10 unit. Cornerbacks, top 10 to 15 unit. Linebackers, top 10 unit. Safety, top 1. So I just think with both coordinators, big question marks, I'm looking at the personnel and what have they done recently. I understand that you lost Frank Ragnow, Kevin Zeitler, but we talk about these skill position players as the best in the NFL, and I truly think that they are. And then this offensive line, yes, it's going to take a step back, but it's going from a top 3 offensive line to probably the top 10 offensive line. So I just think on paper, the Lions offense is up there with the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL, especially at the skill positions. I don't think you can say that about the defense. I think you can look at Aiden Hutchinson and go, Aiden Hutchinson, he's up there with the best defensive players in the NFL. Absolutely. Kirby Joseph. Absolutely. Brian Branch. Absolutely. But as an overall unit, I just think the Lions offense has more to offer on paper.
Well, I thought, if I'm being honest, I thought this would be a more.
I'm surprised Klotz went off.
Yeah, Klotz, it feels like switched on what he's been saying for the last month, not in a bad way, but I feel like you've been hyping up Kelvin Shepard and going at Johnny Morton. Because I mean, I was
paper though.
Yeah, I was gonna go like, and then this is where I thought when we did the segment, I thought maybe Klotz would be the one on the other side. Because I think it's, in my opinion, it's defense or offense as well. Now, I'll say this just to kind of get a little bit of a twist to it. I think there's a chance this defense. I was thinking about it today. Jeff, you're like a 8 to 10, 8 to 11. I think there's a chance that this defense, if they stay healthy, it's a top 5 defense in the NFL, if healthy. And I don't think there's anyone that can argue against that. Like, I don't know how you guys want to measure defenses, if you want to do yards a game or points given up a game. But, like, let's not forget defensively, they were 7th in the NFL last year in points allowed per game. They were top 7 defense when it came to that. And that's, in my opinion, that's what you measure your defense by is, and you guys know this, I've said this for years, is points per game, red zone defense, and third downs. Like, those are the most important things to me to win a game. And the Lions last year in those categories were top 10, I think, in all 3. I could be wrong. I would have to double check on the other 2. But they were 7th in that. And that was with all the injuries. And that was with the rotations. That was with everything that was going on. You didn't really know corners getting hurt. No D-line. Linebackers hurt constantly. The only thing that was there all year were your 2 safeties. And that was it. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if with the safety room that you have currently, if Anzo does come back and you have that linebacking crew, your corners turn out how we think they will. I think the corners have been upgraded this year when it comes from top to bottom. When you're talking about 1 through 4, 1 through 5, I think it's an upgrade. And then if D-line, if Hutch is healthy and Aleem's healthy, you added Tyleek. DJ Reader's coming off a career year. Let's say Marcus Davenport for 70% of the year is healthy. AQM another year in there. You have the other guys, Levi O and Josh Pascal. Those guys have that other year, and they're not actually the main. They're not your starters. That's a top 5 defense if they are. Now, that again, knock on wood, that's if they stay healthy, but that's kind of this conversation. But I'm going to go offense. I think the offense is just old reliable at the end of the day. I don't think the Johnny Morton thing, I know Klotz has that pushback, like we got to see it. I do think that this offense, just the players you have, they've all been here. This offense outside the O-line, they've all been here for the last 4 years playing together. You can bring anyone in, the continuity to it. It's the same over the last 4 years. And I don't know if you guys heard Amon-Ra actually bring it up in the interviews because they brought up John Morton, and he was like, honestly, obviously losing Ben is a bad thing, but with John Morton, it gives you kind of like a new perspective on a lot of different things offensively that you kind of just like sat back and didn't think about the last few years because getting too comfortable in that offense. So, yeah, I think the offense is going to be better, but I wouldn't be shocked if this defense – they have the dudes now. They really do. And again, kind of a new viewpoint with Kelvin Shepherd in there is always sometimes a good thing.
Well, Hudat says Shep could have a different philosophy than AG. Well, yeah, I mean, that could be the same. You can say the same about Johnny Moe. I mean, I think these guys are both fresh faces. I know Shep's been he's been here with AG, so I don't think I think there'll be things he takes from AG. But yeah,
well,
I mean,
his own twist on it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Edward says defense is going to carry the offense this season. That's a little extreme. That's extreme. I mean, that's like, trying to think like defense will carry. Yeah. Trying to think of a team that was like that this year.
I don't know, man.
Like,
that's a tough one.
The Chiefs. The Chiefs.
Yeah, like Chiefs. Like, no, we're not. I don't think we're gonna.
The Texans when they were winning games.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that. I wouldn't go that
Broncos.
far. Like in this comment too, like they finished 3rd against the run. Jeff just ignores these things not to be positive. Like,
I do think I will say this, Jeff. That's why I was a little shocked. You saying like 8 to 12.
I'm talking. Let me explain.
That's so disappointing. If this defense is 10th, this defense should be good.
Because I've been on record. I've said they have to be top 10. I think that's what they have to be. If you want to strive to win a Super Bowl, I think they got to be top 10. And what I mean by that is not the run defense. I think the run defense is going to be very good. I think the pass rush, there's some question marks on the other side of Hutch. I think that's fair. But I'm talking about in totality. I'm really talking about if you want to be real, all the stats you brought up, Boone, are important stats. But when you talk about ranking, I'm talking about yards given up, passing yards given up too.
Yeah, to me that's subjective. Like you can get stops and thirds, give up 40 yards in a drive, get a third down,
but are they going to be a top
not give
7
points
defense,
up,
but giving up 250 yards?
To
a game?
me,
in
like,
yards,
you can give up 500 yards a game and give up 20 points, and you're winning games.
In your opinion, is that a top 5 defense?
No, the one that actually matters to me is points per game. I don't look at the other. Yes, you look at it to see what are we giving up passing yards, rush? Like what is it? I think the number one thing you should look at when it comes to defensive and rankings, like how are you ranking defense? It's points per game. It's how many points is your defense giving up a game?
So are we
That's
only
what it
ranking
should be.
Points per game?
But not only because obviously I'm talking about third downs, but I think the yards obviously have to do with it. But I think like the ranking when you're talking about where does your defense rank, every time you watch football, they put up where your defensive ranked is, right? And they do it by points per game. Like they always look at that. They always look points per game. It's like, what is your defense giving up? I mean, to me, that's the bottom line. If you're giving up 40 points a game, but you're only giving up 300 yards, and you're just giving up, your offense is putting you in bad spots, and your punts aren't good. Are you going to say like, oh, that's a good defense because they're only giving up 300 something yards, but they're giving up 30 points a game? No, it's how many points is that defense giving up at the end of the day?
So, but can we agree that we don't want to see bend don't break? Can we agree with that?
I agree, but you still have to give credit to last year's defense in that sense to where, hey, that was a top 10 defense when it comes to points per game, to where they just, anytime they were put in a tough position or turnover, whatever it was, it was bend, don't break. You don't want to just sit there and let teams just march up on the field on you all the time, which that was happening. But the fact that they were still getting stops in big moments, obviously not in
and I don't want to take away from that. Well, I agree, like situation, but we're having a discussion about the total where they rank as a defense, and I think you have to factor in everything, not just
in that sense, run defense,
year,
third down defense.
Last year they got torched in the playoff game. You know what I mean? Okay, and they had a lot of injuries. But the whole like bend don't break thing, like the 49ers game, what happened?
Yeah, but the playoffs like that, a million turnovers. You cannot blame the defense.
No, but okay, let's go to the NFC Championship game then against the 49ers.
Defense, yeah, that was 2 years ago. I agree, but I just think like last year with the injury,
bend don't break. You know what I mean?
I agree. I'm with you. You need to be able to step up in moments and get stops. Yeah. I'm fully with you on that. Even the NFC Championship game, like the interception, or the one before that, at the Bucs, the interception. That's what you want to see more than bend don't break, right? You want to see those stops. You want to see third downs. But again, and I'm going to see if I can pull this up here real quick. Do they have it? I don't know if they have it. Where can you see defensively third downs? I swear it used to be on here. I can't pull it up. I actually used to get that from the Lions. Never mind. That was those packets.
And I think if you are a top 10 defense, I think that's a great year. You know what I mean? That's I'm talking about in games, and they have a tough schedule. So of course you're going to have you're going to face some pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you got to shut.
It's going to be tougher this year.
Down. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
My point is with this, Jeff, and the reason I brought it up, and I was thinking about it this morning, is I do think that there was like a stigma, the right word. There was just a cloud over this defense, and obviously it was because of injuries. But I do think people forget how good this defense was in certain aspects last year. Because the Commanders game, you have your offense having 5 or 6 turnovers. That defense is getting put in the worst positions possible. The same thing in that Texans game. Like there were certain games where but then you look at the Bills, they couldn't stop Josh Allen. Why was that? Because they have all backups in. They have guys off the streets playing. So I think when you take it look big picture of last year's defense, I think people sometimes overreact and going into this season being like, that Lions defense is bad, man. Like that's going to be the one reason why they don't win a Super Bowl. When all reality, what they had last year defensively, being 7th in points per game, I believe, again, people can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe at the end of the season, they were top 10 in third down conversion, getting stops. And I believe as well in the red zone, they were top 10. So when you do take it in a sample size and say, hey, even with all those injuries, they somehow put that together. Think about this year when guys are back, they've added maybe a couple pieces, and you have a new coordinator as a kind of a little question mark. If you take that small sample size of last year and put that here, it's in Hutch's back. You can't sit back and be like, this defense is going to be the problem. No, this defense, they got everyone back. They're going to be better. And they were top 7 in points per game last year allowed. I think people forget it because of how good this offense is and the coordinator change and the injuries. People just seem to forget that. Or you know what it is, Jeff? It's the edge thing. People just want the edge, but they forget how good the rest of this defense actually is.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not talking about the run defense. I think the run defense is going to be really good. It's more just it's the passing defense to me. And the question mark is really a couple things. One is Anzalone. What happens with him? I think he comes back, but they got to figure that out. Give him an extension. Yeah. He's very valuable. The other thing is Terran Arnold. It's like if Terran Arnold takes that jump we expect him to, your passing defense looks a lot better because now you have DJ Reed, you have Terrion, and you still have backing him up Ennis Rakestraw. You have a nickel in Amik who's very good, and then you have that safety duo. So it looks a lot better if Terrion takes that jump. But if Terrion's struggling, man, it's a lot of things. But yeah, I think we all agree it's the offense, but I think they're both. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, I've said this before, it's got to be through the defense. You got to have especially come the postseason time. They got to be good. If they're like top 12, but in the postseason they're even better, it's like who cares?
I think last year, if Carlton, and maybe this is just an obvious statement, but if Carlton doesn't go down, and Aleem doesn't go down, and Hutch doesn't go down, those 3 guys, you win a Super Bowl last year.
You said if Hutch,
Carlton, and Aleem, if those 3 don't go down last season, you win a Super Bowl. You do.
Possibly.
I think they would.
That defense is.
You would have at least had a chance to go. You would have won against the Eagles. I think they would have at least had a chance.
And that's why I think this year defensively, there's a chance again, like I said, that this defense could be top 5 with guys returning. And obviously, there's I think the biggest question about it is what is Aleem when he comes back? How is Hutch actually going to be? How is DJ Reed taking over for Carlton? Like you said, I think the Terrion thing. That's why I picked the offense because I think there are more question marks defensively. The corners, question mark. Pass rush, question mark. Offensively, to me, it's just offensive line, question mark.
And Aleem, I think it helps you have Tyleek because Aleem's not going to be there. I mean, Ryan said it's probably Thanksgiving-ish, but you have Tyleek who's one of the best run defenders, I think, already. I mean, he's going to walk in that's what you're getting out of Tyleek when it comes to the run defense. So at least there's that. Well, we have the roster. Shout out to John, the DOC. SI came out with a post OTAs offensive line and just offensive depth chart in general. Yep. So I want to show this, and we'll start with the quarterbacks here. And for the quarterbacks, you see it, the depth chart here. Jared Goff, backup, Hendon Hooker, reserve, Kyle Allen.
Do you see the second paragraph?
What a QB room, huh? Yeah, it says here, Hooker has the upper hand as a player the team drafted 3 years ago, but there's pressure on him to become more consistent. Allen will provide a challenge as a veteran with starting experience, and as a result, the team's preseason games will be very exciting to watch as that battle plays out.
There's a battle.
Here we go again.
There's a battle.
Here we go again. Yeah, I'll tell you this, though. I will respect Kyle Allen. He's better competition than Jake Fromm.
Easy.
Nah, Kyle Allen is better.
Easy.
He is better competition. So
I will say that for sure. Oh, yeah, no. People are starting to talk.
Kyle Allen. I mean, let's pump the brakes here. I mean, apparently the reports are saying they both didn't look that good so far. So it's not like Kyle Allen's just spraying.
Is this true?
Stick was claiming his sources were down on Hooker. However, sources for Ragnow were 100% shit. I wonder what did Stick say about Ragnow? I think Stick's sources on Hooker that's pretty. I mean, the reporting has been from OTAs that he has not looked great. So it's not like that's. I mean, John literally joined our show.
Third round quarterback is in a battle for a backup position. Just never thought that would happen.
Matt Corral.
Yeah,
shout out Matt Corral. We spoke with him at the
way better college
Panthers game a while back.
But it's college. It's not college. It's the NFL. So that's fair. But this is the quarterback room. We'll keep it pushed. Should they add a backup? Do you guys think add another one?
Yes, I've said it before. Give me a backup. Go get someone.
As long as it's a proven guy.
Yeah, just go spend the money, 1 year deal, and just bring someone in. I don't know who's still available. Should look that up.
Bryce Perkins. Yeah, no,
okay,
I wouldn't mind another one. If you want to have competition, I'm always open.
You know what I hate, and I know we're on the quarterback, but you know what I hate too? I saw a comment earlier. I think it was on Twitter of someone commented on a post. Might have been a doc post, being like, "Who cares about the backup quarterback?" And it hit me. Do people not realize that last year Jared Goff goes into concussion protocol? And you need someone to step up. And what happened? Teddy Bridgewater goes in and gets obviously he didn't score the touchdown, but to be able to keep that team on calm and go out there and go on a touchdown drive. A lot of people's thoughts, and Jeff, you used to say this all the time, and I think you've mellowed down on it a little bit. But a lot of people are like, well, if Jared Goff, I don't care about the backup quarterback. If Jared Goff goes down, you're done if he goes down for a game or two.
Yeah, we're not talking season. You're screwed.
You need to keep your head afloat. And if you're sitting there being like, hey, we're Super Bowl contenders. We lose Jared Goff for 2 games. We're fighting for playoff position or to win the division. Oh, let's throw Kyle Allen out there. Are you really that comfortable in a 2-week span with Hendon Hooker or Kyle Allen to win you games? I'm not. Yeah, that's why I hate people who are like, we don't need it. No, you do. It's more important than you think.
Well, let's move on to what do you think? Klotz back up? Yeah, bring another one.
I mean, again, sure, but I'd want it to be a proven guy, like somebody that gets cut. Like if there's a Case Keenum that gets cut or somebody like that. If you're bringing in my guy Clayton Tune, it's not moving the needle for me.
Yeah, veteran that has starting experience, kind of like better than Kyle Allen, basically. Running backs, Jameer and David, obviously. Craig Reynolds, Sion Vaki, Anthony Titus III, and Kai Robichuk.
Maybe.
I think you know what? I think that's the guy out of your state, Klotz.
Which one?
Ohio.
He said which one? I mean, is this guy like?
No, I'm saying which running back.
Kai Robichuk.
Guy?
Nah, name's not on. Did it say what school?
He played at Boston College.
Oh, he played at BC. I'm thinking of a different guy then. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Anthony Tyus.
Kentucky, and then he went to Boston College.
Anthony Tyus went to Ohio University.
He did play with Christian Mahogany.
Shout out to him. Didn't think about that.
But yeah, so when I look at, but you know, my biggest thing is with this. Can I just say this, man? Like, what do we think about the Sione Vaki stuff? Like, as a running back, I think he's a really good special teamer. But what I don't know what like, if, for example, if there's someone goes, like Dave Montgomery goes down, or Jimmy, we know Craig's that guy.
Yeah.
Is that more of an indictment though? Like, what's going on? Like, he was a safety play. He was good with the ball in his hands. They tried him at running back.
I just don't know how long you wait, like, for Craig and Sione. I think they're like taking Sione as the backup, or they're like Craig's the next in line for Craig. But what's Craig just going to be here for the next few years? Is Sione never going to get a shot? That's the weird part.
Yeah, and I get he's probably. I mean, we watched him in the preseason last year. He moved. He had some plays. You know, like Ryan said, he got loose. He got loose, but when it came to the season, he didn't really. I get he was young, but Craig was out there. So that's probably another one I'm kind of curious about. Not that I mean, the running backs, guys are going to go down for a game or whatever. They're going to get banged up. So I'm curious what happens this year if it's more. You know, I know it'll be Craig, but just to give Vaki another chance with this.
This is a good point, Atura, and I don't always agree with the tour, but on this team, Dan always says, like, the best player always will play. And if Craig ends up being that guy again this year, that third guy, then Sione's just not doing his job to get that spot. Like, if Sione Vaki is as good as, you know, we think he might be or could be, you would think that going into year 2, he would pass up Craig Reynolds. You would think. Yeah. Because Brad, and I know people might be like, well, Dan, there's fair. He's been here. No, like, look at the guys that they've cut. They've cut dudes that are captains on this team because they're just, hey, we've got better guys.
Right.
If Sione is actually good, he would beat out Craig Reynolds this season, in my opinion. If he doesn't this year, then to me, it was kind of a wasted pick at the end of the day. And maybe in a couple of years, if Craig signs somewhere else, okay, you have Sione. But then at that point, it's like Sione couldn't even beat Craig out before. So Craig might just be that good, and Sione's just like, hey, there we go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Sione Vaki. I know you loved him, Klotzy. I don't know how you feel about him now.
Throw him back there, kick returner. I mean, in the open field, he's good. I'm tired. Like, again, you know he's not going to fumble, so I get why you put Craig Reynolds back there. But Sione Vaki, if you put him back at the returner, you're getting value out of that pick. And at least you have an opportunity to put him in the ball, give him the chance to be a playmaker with the ball in his hands. Like, you see him laying out dudes on special teams, but you draft him to be an offensive weapon. So at least put him as a weapon on the defense or on the special teams. And then at that point, like, he's never, ever going to see meaningful snaps unless there's an injury to Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery at that running back spot. And you have an obvious safety problem or depth at the safety problem. So I would at least give him a shot back there because that Utah dude, he was killing people.
I'll say this, though, Klotz, for a returner. I'm not taking Sione Vaki over Khalif Raymond to return the rock.
Put them both.
You have an all-pro kick returner. Like, punt return. Yeah, I think, honestly, I think he might have returned kicks last year. I think it's just they let Khalif, if the ball, I think they just get it to Khalif. I think Khalif's the one that just every time they just, Khalif, you got it. Because Khalif is, I mean, he's an all-pro kick returner for like 2 straight years. Mm-hmm. It's hard to like go away from him. It's just, dude, it's such a good roster. It's hard to find a spot.
Hey, they're still going to battle. You know, going to battle.
Great
Dominic
special teams player.
Dominic Lovett for that backup spot. Yeah. Don't worry. Hey, watch out, Dominic Lovett.
See, like,
hey, it's the NFL, man.
Wide receiver. Okay, so wide receiver, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick. Backups, Khalif Raymond, Isaac Tesla, Ronnie Bell, Dominic Lovett, Jackson Meeks, Tom Kennedy sticking around. And
the guy is always around, dude. It's crazy.
And Malik Taylor.
Shout out Ferris State, Malik Taylor, man. The Gliac.
State. I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty deep wide receiver room, if I'm being honest.
It is.
I mean, this
Ronnie Bell. He must have had
Ronnie
a good
Bell's a
OTA.
nice- yeah, no, I like Ronnie Bell as a backup. Isaac Tesla, your 3rd round pick. Ronnie Bell, Cleve Raymond. Like, okay,
That's nice.
I'll take that. Tim Patrick. Yeah, there's not really much. I mean, this is a pretty good wide receiver room.
Yeah. I think
not-
the biggest battle there is the Ronnie Bell, Dominic Lovett. I think that's going to be a training camp battle.
Yeah.
Remember last year there was that battle for that final wide receiver spot, and then they just brought Tim Patrick in and ended it all.
Yeah, it was DPJ and
Therese Fountain.
Therese Fountain,
Therese
shout out. Yeah, I
And-
think that's what it's going to be like. Ronnie Bell and Dominic Lovett, who's making the most plays.
tight end spot. You got Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra, Kenny, your boy. Your boy. One of my favorite last names ever. Zach Horton, Luke Deal. Yeah, I don't really know what's gonna happen. I don't really care about the tight end spot, if I'm being honest. You got Sam Laporta and Brock Wright. I don't care who was the tight end 3. I really don't care at all. Offensive tackle, Taylor Decker, Panay Sewell, Dan Skipper.
Whoa! Doc just popped up on my screen. Whoa, dude, that was a jump scare, man. Jeez, Doc. Whoa!
You got Dan Skipper, Giovanni Manu, Jamarco Jones, Mason Miller. I didn't even know Jamarco Jones was here. I didn't even know that either. But yeah, I mean,
Wow, look at those backups. That's a crazy world. I mean, the argument last week. It's a crazy world, man.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, it's tough as it is to find backup tackles, and you have basically a 4th round pick in Gio and Dan Skipper. I mean,
No gut.
yeah, no
It's
gut.
crazy that the comment covers Klotz's face and it's the no gut one.
Hey,
There we go,
watch out, no
Klotzy.
gut. He's about to be the 6th man of the year. I'm just saying.
So why did they re-sign Dan Skipper?
Well, Dan, you don't get rid of Dan. Dan's been here, by the way, for so long. I didn't realize it. He was here when they drafted Frank.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
The video. I saw the video of Frank getting drafted, the 4 or 5 minute one that the Lions put together. And Dan Skipper, he's older than Frank Ragnow, which is crazy. He said he hosted Frank on campus, like he was his host for his visit to Arkansas. That's how old Dan Skipper is. He hosted Frank Ragnow on his. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
And then when he comes to the Lions, Dan Skipper's the first guy to tap him up. Be like, yeah, that's crazy, man. How the world works.
yeah. I mean,
Skip.
yeah. I want to know. I don't want Taylor to ever go down, but in a hypothetical world, who steps in? I just want to see. Is it Gio? Come on, I just want to find out.
I mean, who else are you going to put out there?
Well, hey, don't say it like that, Klotzy.
At the end of the day, the Skip man has been in Detroit out of his 8 years, 7 seasons in Detroit. The man has played in Detroit as many years as Frank Ragnow did. Put some respect on his name, man. And he's caught a touchdown pass.
Well, the guard spot, you have Tate Ratledge and Mahogany, and then backups, you have Yodi and Tristan Cologne.
Cologne, yeah.
Reserves, Miles Frazier, Colby Sorsdahl, Michael Neese, and Newton Moody.
Yeah, I think he played a little bit last year. I think he actually might have got a couple snaps in. I could be wrong, but when I was doing some research. I think Miles should be backup. I know you can only do 2 backups. I think that's why the doc did it, but he's going to make the roster. So I think he's an automatic lock for a roster, or someone else will pick him up, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
Dude, it would be so interesting to me with Colby there in the reserves, to where if he doesn't make the 53 man, if there's another squad that comes in and says we want Colby Sorsdahl. I'm actually like very interested in. Like, because last year they didn't cut him because they didn't want to lose him because they're developing him. But this year is like a little different story because you drafted 2 guards.
Yeah, his leash is a lot shorter. I'm not even sure.
I don't know how that works.
Confident he makes it, if I'm being honest. Especially because you bring in Tristan Cologne, like he might be better right now. Like,
yeah,
I mean, you really have 5 guards you like. Tate, Mahogany, Yodi's played. Cologne he's played in games. I mean, he's better.
Yeah.
And then Miles Frazier, who you just drafted, like,
And Graham.
And he's not listed as one, but yeah, I mean, he's an option. He can play it too. So yeah, I think Colby might be on cut watch, man. Like who knows? Our practice squad. Probably.
I just don't know how it works if you get cut to go to the practice squad if other teams are able to pick you up, especially if you're on like a rookie deal. I don't know how that.
Well, center, this is tough.
I think the doc's wrong on this, or whoever wrote this is wrong.
Starter Graham, backup Cologne.
Should be Ratledge.
Reserves, Ratledge, Kingsley, Sorsdahl. Sorsdahl at center is a disaster. And Michael Neese. I mean, let's just be real. It's Graham, Cologne, Ratledge, and Kingsley.
Neese plays center. He's decent. He's a good center.
Okay, then Neese.
Yeah. I don't know why Neese is behind Sorsdahl.
But that, I mean.
They cross-training Colby.
You could cross-train, you cross-fit. I don't care what you do with him. But he ain't making it.
I feel like Tate Ratledge should be way high, should be at least back up on this. I don't think Tate should be reserved. I think he's going to get the job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough depth chart, if I'm being honest. That's a really tough depth chart.
Mm-hmm.
Like that as a set center. That's really tough.
Was that the doc? The doc did that at center?
Yeah. Well, let me see who wrote this.
Was it Christian?
It was Christian. Shout out to Christian, actually.
Shout out. Christian does a good job. I disagree, though, with the center depth chart. I think it should be mixed around a little bit differently.
Well, hey, speaking of center, saw a report today for the Pistons.
Here we go.
Miles Turner. Potentially, the Pistons are linked to Miles Turner in free agency. I saw Stephen A. Smith say how Katie to the Pistons would be one of his best fits. I'm seeing Lauri Markkanen potentially on the move.
Yeah. And
I'll say this about Miles Turner, okay?
This is what I've been waiting for. I didn't hear this.
This is one I don't think I've ever actually talked about this with you guys. You know when you have takes that you just have and you're like you don't really say them out like to the fellas, you just kind of have them
every day. I have that.
Yeah, like a lot of those like side takes. One of the takes I've always had, I love Miles Turner. I love Miles Turner. He's one of my favorite underrated players. I think if any team we had this argument about Derek White, oh, that guy's just a winner. I'm not gonna say Miles Turner hasn't won anything, but if you were to have a winning team and you're we just need a center, how bad?
Yep.
How
the
bad
Lakers
do you think
need a Miles
the Lakers
Turner.
would have loved Miles Turner? You know what I mean? He's not. This is what he brings to your team. Okay, he's gonna shoot threes at an impressive clip for a big. He's gonna block a lot of shots. He's big, 6'11". He's never been an elite rebounder. I don't think he's ever even averaged. I have to actually double check. I don't think he's ever averaged double-digit rebounds. So that's not really his MO. He's not going to get you 12 a game or whatever. But it's because he's always on the perimeter. I think him offensively and defensively is the perfect fit for the Pistons. I love Jalen Duren. But when we talk about offensive ceiling and what he is offensively, Miles Turner is already better offensively right now. And I think he's even better. He's better defensively right now. The thing where Jalen Duren is better is his ability to rebound, which, he obviously is an excellent rebounder. And defensively, he's gotten better. He blocked more shots this year. But if you're asking me, would you love Miles Turner on this Pistons team, especially coming off this finals push? Yes, I would. I think he fit so effortlessly. The guy builds Legos.
Can I ask you a question, though?
Yeah, he builds freaking Legos. You don't have to worry about the guy. Perfect fit.
Me and him, we could build Legos together. Can I ask you a question, though? Realistically, because there's been a couple names. I think two of the names this weekend that I heard are actually linked to the Pistons: Miles Turner and Lauri Markkanen. On the spot, and I hope you pick the right way. If you don't, I don't want to have to do this to you. Who are you picking? If you no matter what, let's say assets aside, everything, you get to pick one of the two, no matter what. They're a Piston next year. Who are you taking?
You said Lauri Markkanen or Miles Turner?
Yeah,
I'm taking Lauri.
Yeah, I mean. I think Lauri, because of the core you already have, he's a better fit. Yeah.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, because he essentially
he's a better player. I mean,
yeah, at the end of the day, that's why I was a little.
The only thing that worries me is he just isn't healthy. But I think maybe on the
which
Pistons
is fair. Yeah, I think
was
that's a fair thing. He hasn't played in a full season in his career, which is fair. He's always missing 20 games or so. But
perfect fit too.
He is to me, Lauri Markkanen is the ideal fit, because then you don't get in that spot. Because in Miles Turner, you bring him in, and I do like him, Jeff. I'm big on him. It's just you get into that situation what do you do with Jalen Duren now? And that's where you kind of mix up last year's team a little bit to where it's like who's coming off the bench? Is Jalen Duren coming off the bench? Is Miles Turner? It's like you just get into that weird spot of it. Like Miles Turner can shoot the rock too. That man, I think he shot almost 40% this year. But that's where I kind of lean towards the Lauri thing, to where you can fill him in at 4 and there's no, easier stretch 4, and there's no question. That's your number 2 next to Cade, essentially.
I think Lauri Markkanen from a player standpoint, he could play alongside Cade perfectly. I think he would be the perfect fit. I think the Jazz will move on from him too. I just think it makes, come on.
I think Trey John's going to. I think he's going to throw and hearing from the press conferences at the end of the season, I do think that Trey John's going to put out a package for Lauri. I do, because he did say, hey, if we like if we do like someone, like we have no like hesitation of making a move if we like it. And I don't see how you look at the Lauri Markkanen thing again outside the injuries and say, yeah, he's like, that is your one need on this team is a stretch 4, and you're set to go. Now, obviously, it depends on the assets and what you have, but I would be willing to move on from a few things to bring in a Lauri Markkanen, and you still have Tobias at the 3, Jay and Ivy at the 2, and then at the 1 you have Cade, and then Jalen Duren. Like that's a scary 5 right there. That to me, that's a contending 5, front 5.
Now, I will say with the Kevin Durant thing, because Stephen A. Smith had him as like the Pistons as a team that's the best fit. We've had this conversation before. Kevin Durant's one of my favorite players to watch play basketball. It's truly an art. I love watching Kevin Durant. Here's the reality, though. There's a couple of different things on this. One, Kevin Durant is heading into the final year of his deal. And then he's a free agent. So whatever team trades for Kevin Durant, you have to factor in he would be willing to sign that extension. Would he be wanting to stay there? And he's 36 years old. He's going to be 37 this upcoming season. So it wouldn't be this 4-year deal, obviously. It'd be like a 2-year deal, whatever. I don't think this would be an ideal destination for him. I just don't think he would want to come here. And then B, I think it would cost
so much money.
I mean, you'd give up half your roster because if you trade for KD, it's basically
first-round picks.
You want to win now. You're like, we're getting Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
We're all in. I just don't think with what the Pistons have to give up, and on top of that, you would have to extend him. It would make a lot of sense. I think it's good for TV if you're like Kevin Durant to the Pistons. I get it, but in reality, it just doesn't make sense. I don't think the Pistons have enough to get it done, and if they did, it would basically deplete the roster, and you wouldn't even know if you extend him.
If you added him now, I think that's a great number 2 with Cade.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's you're contending, right? You are contending, but if you don't win, then you're in trouble because then it's like now we're on long term. We gave up assets, but I do think like if you did add Kevin, that's why I think there's like 2 sides of it. If you did add Kevin Durant, you can win a championship tomorrow. Like you could win one, in my opinion, with what you have. But there's the negative sides of it, and I think that's where some people kind of aren't realistic, like the Stephen A's who are like, do it now, Cade and KD. It's like, yeah, because like even an older KD that's not playing well, maybe hurt, him and Cade in the playoffs with Tobias and Jalen Duren, the crew you would have putting on the floor. It's like if you get 80% of what KD has been, that is a better number 2 than what you had last year, and you're winning series and you're making a run at it. But it's just that back end. It's like what you have to give up. You're spot on with that. It's just too much money, man, and too many assets.
I still love this.
I like that one too. That's a great one.
It's my favorite one all offseason.
I don't know if he's going to be available though. I don't know why they would ever move on from him.
I would literally
make no sense.
I would do nasty things to have Jared Jackson Jr. a Piston. I would do some.
Go ahead, expand.
No, we're gonna leave that closed. But I actually want to.
You're leaving things closed.
Leave that closed. I'm gonna nothing involving baby oil, but it would be some nasty things. Let me get Sean in here. All right, Sean, because he's the perfect guy to ask about this. And Sean covers the Detroit Pistons. You can check out From Half Court. Does a great job. And he's the guy to talk to about this type of stuff. So please welcome to the show, Mr. Sean Murphy. Sean, how we doing?
Jeff, you can't get me all excited with the baby oil this early, man. What's going on?
Sean,
No, thanks for having me, boys. It's great to be here. It's good to see you guys. Great
you
to
at
talk
LCA?
basketball. And
this guy's at LCA right now. Packed crowd, huh? Come on.
oh yeah. This is actually happening in real time, as you can see. No, this is from Game 6, though. This was from where I was sitting in the.
We
press
posted
booth.
that picture. One of the greatest pictures I've ever
That's
seen
iconic.
taken at LCA, Sean.
I appreciate it, man. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like I cooked on that one. So
You did.
I want to get this photo like printed and framed at some point for real. Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
that,
You could probably sell that photo for a lot of money, like to somewhere that would print it for, like, put it out.
you know what? I
genuinely.
could get $3 on it. I think, Booner, maybe 4 if we push our luck.
Yeah.
Like
You
if
know
I
what, Sean?
negotiate right.
Sean, I mean, well, speaking of the negotiations, I mean, this is the offseason. This is the time where we have rumored people coming to the Pistons. And a couple of those people I do want to ask you about. The first one being Miles Turner, who I keep seeing being, quote, linked to the Pistons. He's going to be a free agent. He's obviously going to command a lot of money. But I love Miles Turner. I think it's a tough one because you have Jalen Duren. But can I get your thoughts on the player, the fit, and kind of what you would do, what you think Trajan would do, but also what you would do in that situation if Miles Turner was available?
Yeah, man, Miles Turner's a really solid player. He's been linked to the Pistons for a really long time, and it's because he makes a lot of sense, especially alongside Cade Cunningham, someone who can stretch the floor, someone who's a solid rim protector, somebody that you can play alongside another big if you need to, someone that gives you a lot of, flexibility. He's a rim runner. He's a floor stretcher. He's someone that, gives you solid play on both sides of the court at a consistent level. He's relatively durable compared to other bigs. He's a solid player. The problem, in my opinion, is first of all, he's going to command north of $30+ million a year. That's the market for
Right.
That's the market for Miles Turner right now. On top of that, you have the Indiana Pacers, who are currently tied at one game all in the NBA Finals, who have made it very public that they are planning to dip into the luxury tax, and even had Shams essentially come out and say that includes signing, Miles Turner after the, Jake Fisher report of linking him to the Pistons came out. So I think the Pistons, it makes a lot of sense, especially if a Naz Reid, type player isn't, quite as available as they think he is. He's the type of big that is, the perfect big in this modern NBA. Someone that gives you the versatility and the flexibility to play whatever, style of basketball you need. Is he a perfect big? No, he's, a lot of times he could be seen as a little bit of a defensive liability if you catch him outside of the paint, but overall he's much more of an additive than he is, a subtraction on the court. So if he's available, absolutely, I think Detroit should make a run, although you would have to make some real decisions about cap space, and you would have to really give up certain guys like a Malik Beasley more than likely to go out and make that happen.
Sean, I want to ask you this. I think this is the first conversation we're having with you since the offseason has started, if I remember correctly. And last year, the conversation me and you had was about Tobias Harris. I'm going to make this question easy. Who's this offseason's Tobias Harris for Sean Murphy? I want to know. I want to know if I'm going to like it or not like it. And so next time you're on, we can go to battle or we can hug it out.
I'm all in on Naz Reid, man.
I love it. Yes.
You want to talk about like the combination of skill set, like age, like what you can get for him market wise. He's probably going to get $100+ million on his contract. If you pay him like $25+ million a year, I think that's, perfectly fine money for a guy who's performed in big playoff situations, someone who has grown, steadily throughout his career. And like, you'd think he's older than he actually is. Like, he's going to be 26 next season. So timeline wise, he fits really well at this lineup, and he makes a lot of sense. On top of that, Minnesota is going to have a really hard time bringing him back because of the fact that they're in literal salary cap hell, and they have Julius Randle in free agency. They don't necessarily want to let him walk for nothing after getting him back in the Karl Anthony Towns trade. So I think Minnesota is going to have a really hard time bringing him back. So I think if they can do some form of sign and trade, because they're going to have a hard time bringing in Naz Reid as well as keeping a Malik, they would have to make the salaries work. But in my opinion, he's the exact type of addition that they would want to make, because he fits this group's timeline. He has all the skill sets. You can play him alongside of Jalen Duren. You can play him at the 5. You can bring him off the bench. You can have him starting. He's the perfect player to put alongside of Cade Cunningham.
Didn't Malik play with him in Minnesota too? So there's a link right there.
Yep.
We need to get him. Make a phone call, Malik.
Yeah. And Sean, I'm going to ask you, kind of going from the offseason to the finals right now. First off, what are your initial impressions of the first 2 games? And when you look at this Pacers team, how far off do you think the Pistons are for them?
Yeah, I think these first 2 games were, absolutely phenomenal. The second game definitely wasn't nearly as close as the first, but I think the Thunder for, 7 of the 8 quarters of the finals thus far have been the better team. I think you saw that especially in game 2. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player in the series, but the Pacers, like that end of the first game was exactly why this Pacers team is special. Like the historic runs that this team has gone on and the comebacks, the crazy game-winning shots, like they are like one of the most exciting teams to watch perhaps in the history of the sport. Like you literally cannot turn off a game when the Indiana Pacers are playing, because they could potentially come back from almost any margin at any time. And to answer your question, I don't think the Pistons are far off from the Indiana Pacers at all, especially if they get the proper development, if they go and make the right moves. And I think a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference are looking at the fact that Jason Tatum has a torn Achilles. The Celtics are probably going to have to take a gap year because of the payroll that they have on top of the injuries that they're facing. Damian Lillard tore his Achilles. Giannis might move on from the Bucks and potentially go out west. So people are looking at the Indiana Pacers as this finals team and looking at the Eastern Conference as wide open. Even teams like Cleveland might not necessarily stay intact. There's reports that they might move on, from Darius Garland, although he just had surgery. It was just revealed. So this conference is very much up for the taking. And who's to say that if the Pistons make the right moves and if everything aligns, players develop the way that we expect, like what's to say the Pistons couldn't make it as far as the conference finals? Like, I don't think that's out of reach if we see this group play to the level that we expect and take that next jump. I'm not saying they're going to be, like a 1 or 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, but they can certainly be a formidable foe. We already saw them give the Knicks a run for their money. And let me tell you, I was walking past. So at the end of game 6, I had to walk down by the locker rooms to go, to the press room. So I had to pass by the Knicks locker room. And when I tell you they were hollering like they booked a finals trip after beating the Pistons, like it was like genuine, like they just booked a finals trip after beating a Jaden Ivey and Isaiah Stewartless Pistons. That's how close they already are.
Yes, I mean, Sean, the conversation we had, honestly, like about a week ago, and I think you're the perfect person to ask about this. And I brought it up, like the Thunder and Pacers. Like, and you already talked about the Pacers, how I think the Pistons aren't that far off. But I think what it's done is it's brought back this, I don't know if it's a new era, and this is where I will give Adam Silver a little bit of credit here. With the superstar league, it's still a superstar league, but when you talk about winning an NBA championship, it seems like the formula right now is you need a star player, a superstar player, and then you need depth. You need, obviously, a guy like the Pacers have Siakam, the Thunder have Jalen Williams, but then you have these great role players surrounding them. I mean, these teams go 7 deep, but when you look at the Pistons, they have Cade. Ivy was not there, but they still have a bunch of guys that are very good role players, above average role players, and Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and go on and on, especially Schroeder if they re-sign him. But in your opinion, the conversation in this offseason I've heard the most is what do they do with Jaden Ivey? And is this a situation where you say, well, maybe we do have our second guy already on the roster, or people would add, well, no, let's trade him for another proven star. What side of the coin do you kind of fall on when it comes to approaching this offseason? Is it, hey, I trust in Ivy with this healing process, or is it time to be aggressive or be patient considering what's been happening in the NBA?
Yeah, I think it depends on, what opportunities present themselves to the Pistons. Like there's only so many, like guys that are untouchable if they're available. Like I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like, let's say the Pistons can get like a ridiculously good deal on a Jaylen Brown, like have a good one, Jaden Ivey. You know what I mean? But like to me, like overall, I'd be relatively reluctant on letting him go, especially because of the fact that with his injury, first of all, all indications are structurally there should be no long-term impact from this injury. Like Jaden Ivey should be 100% Jaden Ivey when he comes back next year. So I think that's one thing to consider. But on top of that, I think with the fact that he just faced this injury, there's a real chance that you could sign him at a discounted rate on an extension this offseason. And as I've kind of like brought up before, I really envision like a Jaden Ivey extension looking a lot like what the Rockets just gave Jalen Green last summer, where you can sign him at 3 or 4 years, $100+ million, get him that generational wealth and that, that kind of that long-term, that initial comfort, that first big contract, so to speak. And then it's kind of like a bet on himself to get that next deal. But on top of that, it's a really flexible, contract that you could potentially move in the future as well. I just think with how good he was playing leading up to the injury, I would be reluctant on moving on from him too soon. And on top of that, I just still think we really haven't seen nearly enough of Cade Cunningham, Ausar Thompson, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren on the court together. We haven't really seen almost any of it because of Ausar Thompson had the blood clot issues. Obviously, there was the crap show with Monty Williams last year. But then on top of that, obviously, Jaden Ivey had his injury stuff. Cade was dealing with health stuff here and there. To me, like, if there's the right player available and the opportunity presents itself this offseason, then fine, I'm all for it. But at the same time, like I would at least want to give this team until the trade deadline to see what these guys can do together.
I want to just sticking on that, Sean, kind of just with contracts. I think one of the most interesting things outside of obviously that number 2 option, these role players that they have, Malik Beasley, Dennis Schroeder, even Tim Hardaway, those deals are all up. What would you, if you're Trajan and you kind of had to go about it, and you probably most likely, I would say you can't sign all 3, especially if you make a move. What would be your kind of choice out of those 3, even if it's 1 or 2 of, or even if it's 2 of them, who would you kind of roll with there? Or if you had to pick just one?
Yeah, my ranking of the 3, Malik would be number 1 just because of the historic shooting season that he had, just, the cultural impact, the fit that he's had with the fan base, but also just how awesome he was last year, from beyond the arc. I think that's someone that you'd want to retain if he can continue to shoot at that level or near that level. From there, I would say number 2, Dennis Schroeder, just because of the quality that he can bring as a backup point guard, just another ball handler who can, initiate offense and kind of be a steady hand for this team. And I would say 3, like Tim Hardaway Jr. He's a really solid player. I thought he actually had a pretty good season with Detroit last season. I would just say the biggest thing with Tim Hardaway is that he is very streaky. Like one game he'll come out and have like 18 points like by halftime. And then the next night it's like, oh wait, Tim Hardaway Jr. played. So that's kind of like the heads and tails effect of him, so to speak. So I would say Malik would probably be the number 1 priority for that reason, just because, I mean, he not only did he have like the best shooting season in Pistons history, again, he had one of the best shooting seasons in NBA history from beyond the arc. So I think as long as he can shoot near or at that level, you keep him as much as you possibly can.
And Sean, you were talking about earlier the development of Jaden Ivey and how important it is and what you can potentially get out of him. Going into next year, besides Ivey, who do you think is the most pivotal player to take another step for this team in order so they can hopefully get to that Eastern Conference final tier that you were talking about just a second ago?
I think it's Ausar Thompson. I think it's the fact that, this is a guy who this is his first full regular normal NBA off season, being healthy to actually, get into a gym with a shooting coach, to be able to play in full scrimmages, to condition and be able to play 30+ minutes. Ausar was as much of a demon as he was, and he did it under 30 minutes a night. Imagine being fully unleashed over 30 minutes with an improved handle, a relatively improved jump shot. Like, he was already showing a lot of improvements on the offensive side of the court. To me, like, he's the key to this team taking that next step, because we've already seen, like so many flashes. And if you look at when this team's record improved, it essentially aligned with the date that Ausar Thompson returned to the lineup. Like, he was like one of the biggest impact players on this team already. So if he can take that jump that we all expect, and quite frankly, I think he's a lot closer to Amen Thompson than a lot of people expect. And if he can play close to his twin brother, the Pistons are going to be in danger in the Eastern Conference very quickly and for years to come.
What about a guy like Ron? I think the Ron Holland thing's interesting because
yes.
I think he showed it's they have two guys that I think could be very good perimeter defenders. And Ron Holland, you saw in the playoff series, obviously you're not playing Fontecchio. Ron Holland defensively is a weapon in the playoffs. But then you see some of these rookie things he's doing offensively, which is 100% understandable. But what do you make of his kind of next jump and what that kind of looks like in your opinion for a guy like Ron Holland, someone who I think is athletically, defensively, he has a ton of upside, but then maybe offensively, kind of similar to what you're saying with Asar. It's like if this guy can just shoot like 34% from three and just develop somewhat of a jumper. I think he has a pretty high ceiling. But what do you make of Ron his rookie year and going into his second year?
Yeah, I think Ron showed a lot of things to be excited about, especially for a guy who hasn't even turned 20 years old yet. I mean, his athletic ceiling is off the charts. The thing I was really impressed with was his ability to, drive to the basket and score in isolation and like get buckets like towards the basket. Like he's a really good finisher at the rim, especially for his rookie year. On top of that, like, he showed a lot of improvement in his 3-point shot as the season went on. And if you look at like the structure of his jump shot, it's a really good jump shot. Like he has good form. He has like a solid base to build upon. Like put him in a gym with Fred Vinson and put him alongside, like the rest of these guys, like going forward. I think there's a lot of reasons, to be optimistic. And I think like I was just really impressed with his level of play in the playoffs. Like he only averaged like 7 minutes a game, but like there wasn't really ever like that massive like flip out. I think overall, like offensively, he didn't necessarily play the greatest, but defensively, he more than held his own in the minutes he was there, and he got better as the series went on. And that's really what he did this season too. Like the thing that you're impressed with Ron Holland, on top of not being afraid of backing down, to guys in confrontations, that's the way he plays basketball too. And I just the flash has really showed itself towards the end of the season. And if he can bring that like 20 plus minutes a night, he brings his team to another level too. And I think he's more than capable of doing that. Like the foundation is still very raw, and he's showing to be, like a very promising player.
Sean, I just have, this is a big question because it's been going around the city of Detroit. Tyrese Halliburton, Cade Cunningham. I think Cade Cunningham's a better player, and I actually texted the boys this, I think it was yesterday or today. Final shots come down to it. Cade's missed his, Tyrese hasn't. Where do you rank these guys? And I'm guessing it's going to be Cade. I don't want to talk for you, but for me, it's Cade. It feels like there's some disrespect on the Tyrese Halliburton train, in my opinion, in Detroit, just because of that Cade comparison. How do you feel about that? Where are you at with the Tyrese thing? I'm interested in your take, because shout out Flannel. Flannel put in our text a couple days ago when Tyrese hit the game one shot and said his run and everything's just very underrated, and he's one of the most underrated players in the NBA, and he kind of meant more so the run of people hyping him up. But I still think that, maybe I'm wrong, I still think what he's doing is incredible, and I feel like it's taken away from what he's doing when people start putting him in that Cade convo and trying to compare it, because it's like, hey, this guy's in the finals doing that, and Cade missed those shots versus the Knicks at the end of the day. And it's like the apples to oranges thing, in my opinion. That's how I look at it. What are your thoughts on that whole thing?
Yeah, I think Tyrese Halliburton's an incredible player. He's on one of the greatest clutch shooting runs in the history of basketball right now. Just the clutch shots that he's hit over the last few weeks and the manner that he's hit them is unprecedented levels of cojones. Like just, an extremely confident, talented young player who's a really good point guard, who's great at taking care of the basketball. I think the reason why, Cade Cunningham is a step above Tyrese Halliburton, and I think to your point, Booner, like I think there's a way to, criticize, a player's game or talk about how they can grow without like tearing them down and calling them trash. I think with Tyrese Halliburton, and they talked about it a lot in game 2, the biggest thing with him in general is the consistency of his offensive output. Sometimes he is like a little too okay with being passive. And listen, that's something that Cade's had a little bit as well. Like he's okay with feeling out the game before, attacking, but like ultimately Cade has a lot more counters and ability to attack defenses when they're like showing him different coverages, when they're blitzing, when he's going up against some of those elite defenders. Whereas Tyrese, if you watch him play, he's a lot more willing to give the ball away and stand in the corner and kind of observe and let possessions go. And I think that's kind of the biggest difference is the consistency in output on the offensive side. I think Cade's just more talented of a scorer, whereas Tyrese, to your point, like he's the more clutch player right now. I also just think Tyrese has been in more of those situations to hit those clutch shots, whereas Cade Cunningham, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances like a 28-game losing streak, was in a lot of situations where the game was over before the fourth quarter was even really getting to that point. So I think Cade still has a lot of opportunities to grow in that area, and I think part of that's his conditioning, part of that's just getting more of those reps and those opportunities. Yeah. But I think they're both absolutely awesome players. If you have either of them as your franchise point guard, you are blessed. Like you feel absolutely thrilled. I just think Cade is a better offensive, like an overall better scorer. And then also that's not even getting to the fact that Cade's just a way better defender as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sean, I'm going to keep this question very, very simple because I feel like you'll be very good at the answer for it. Give me the draft sleeper for the Detroit Pistons this year. Your guy that you want to see picked by Trajan Langton.
Honestly, man, as I don't want this to be a cop-out. This might depress you. I don't really know if there's a draft sleeper right now if they have the 37th overall pick. And I think a big reason why, I'm not trying to just cop out of answering your question. I do apologize. For one, I'll just be fully transparent. This has been the least I've done draft prep in years.
Rightfully so, though, Sean. Rightfully so.
Because I have had to focus on playoffs and on, trades action this summer, which is something that was a completely different discussion than before. But on top of that, assuming the Pistons do keep the 37th overall pick, I have a very hard time seeing any player they draft there even sniffing the rotation. They would probably, and a lot of that is honestly because of NIL. Trajan Langdon talked about this at his postseason press conference before this kind of became a popular narrative, but it's really true. NIL is changing the draft. Like in the short term, we are seeing more guys who would be in those mid to late first round, early second round guys getting offers to go back to school. And it's like, well, do you go and be the 27th pick to go maybe crack a rotation, more than likely get like a two-way spot at some point? Or do you make another $6-7 million to go back to college, potentially improve your draft stock and get a better contract the next year? Like, I think in the long term, it's going to be better for the game because in theory, we should see guys develop more and we should see guys be more prepared coming out of the draft. We should be able to get more tape on guys to actually better scout them. But in the interim, like drafts like this year in particular, Cooper Flagg's a special player. That top 3-5 is a great selection to choose from. But if you're not in that pool, you're going to have a pretty hard time finding like a really good player, especially if you're Detroit. And quite frankly, that's why I don't really know if it's even worth them looking to move up into like the mid 15s, 16s. Like, would it be awesome to be able to move up and get like a Danny Wolf? Like, sure, absolutely. I just don't know if it makes sense in this draft.
Tell you what,
fair cop out, Sean.
Round one talent that you can get in the 30s. Let me introduce you to a man by the name of Alex Toohey.
Oh, the Aussie. This guy and all his Australian friends. I mean, he's probably a stud.
Hey,
here's the problem, though.
That's family to me, Sean. Don't say anything bad about Alex.
I'm not even saying anything about Alex. My problem isn't even with him. The problem is the Pistons might already feel like they have a first-round caliber Aussie in Bobby Klitman that didn't really get to play last year.
AT, I love Bobby. AT's
Bobby
better.
Klitman.
Give me AT.
I love that. I love
Give me AT.
Hey, you know what, Sean?
Bring that man to the D.
We're getting to the point.
Shout out Bobby Klitman.
It's got to fuck those picks as long as they're this good. But you know what? It is what it is.
They need more experienced players than they need young players right now.
Yes, I 1,000% agree with that. Unless you get another guy drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, which I think is probably unlikely.
Unless there's a guy that like you feel like can come into like the rotation next year, contribute right away and for the long term, and you can trade up and get into like the 15 through 20 to get there, then like that's a different conversation. I just don't think that exists in this draft right now.
I feel like all drafts going forward, Sean, are probably going to be pretty similar, which stinks. but it feels like that's going to be. I think honestly, and maybe this is just. I just feel like the foreign players are going to be more valued later now because, those are kind of those gems that you can find.
Hey,
yeah, I think this is really where like a lot of like scouts and like elite front offices are really going to make their money is by how they evaluate these mid to late round picks, especially with how muddy it's going to get with the NIL waters.
Hey, Sean, I know you heard my my out of pocket comment about Jaren Jackson Jr. What do you think about that? You think the Grizzlies move on from him? What do you is that maybe a sleeper guy to pay attention to? I kind of like it.
I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. would be an awesome addition. I think he's an awesome player. I just think Memphis, especially as long as they have Ja Morant, would be out of their freaking mind, to give up on that. But at the same time, though, Jeff, like to your point, that might be a guy to monitor because, like, what are they doing in Memphis? Like, especially with, like, seriously, like just a couple years ago, Ja went on ESPN NBA Today and said, "We're fine in the West." Are you really fine in the West going into next year beyond? Especially if Kevin Durant might be on the Spurs, especially if Giannis could potentially be on the Rockets.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like the Thunder aren't going anywhere. Luka and the Lakers are going to be a thing. They are not fine. I am just telling you. They are not. At a certain point, Jaren Jackson might be like, guys, this is not fine. Get me home.
Yeah, we got Ja getting suspended for random shit. I mean, Desmond Bain. We watched him put up 40 on the Pistons.
That was disgusting.
Ja, just use Threads instead. No one's on Threads. Go live on Threads. Go nuts. No one will see it.
Yeah. Hey, shout out Threads, man. What a time. Hey, Sean, we love you, man.
That's
keep crushing, man. Let's get you back on. This offseason is going to be really busy, so we'll be relying on
you. Oh, yeah.
Until then,
I appreciate it, boys. I'm surprised you didn't ask me about Kevin Durant, but honestly,
you already know that answer, Sean. Come on.
Yeah. I respect that you guys have the self-control.
Just like, dude, that's the thing people don't understand about Durant, Sean. The guy's going into his final year. I mean, what the fuck are we doing here?
He's 30. He's going to be 37 this season.
Perfect age to win a championship.
Like, I love Kevin Durant.
One last run.
I love Kevin Durant. I turned 10 a month before he was drafted. I turned 28 a couple of weeks ago. I'm sorry. It's just not lining up.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm Durant, dude, and you're going to trade me somewhere I don't want to go, I'll threaten retirement. Fuck it. I'm 37. Bye. Fuck it. I'll threaten retirement.
Yeah, he's probably done soon, to be honest. I mean, he's had his career at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's solidified it. He's one of the great. I love Durant, but yeah.
No. I don't think he'd like hate playing alongside like a Cade Cunningham. To me, the other thing I point out is like, it's literally almost every situation he's been in now has not ended well. And I'm the biggest Kevin Durant guy you'll find. But like, that's just like the vibes have gotten worse after he's been there.
Yeah, that's
you could say it, Sean. He needed Steph. We all know that.
Okay, I mean, yeah, he did, but that's a different argument.
It's a fact, but
I'm not going to say he needed Steph. But what I will say is maybe the grass isn't always greener on the other side. How about that?
Yeah,
like that statement.
Yeah, that's fair. He's still the best player in the finals.
Still,
but yeah, all right, we'll get out of here. Sean, we love you, Sean.
Love you, boys. Always,
love you, Sean. Appreciate it, dude.
There you go, Sean Murphy from Half Court.
What a legend.
Talking to the fellas, man. Shout out, Sean. Yeah, he's the man. He's the absolute man. We got 2 minutes.
Couple mailbags, I guess. Drop a couple questions. How about that?
I don't know if I don't think we even have a question. But hey, you know what though? Pistons talk. It is that time of year. I mean, free agency is not too far away, fellas. So
I'm interested to see what Trajan does, man. Like this is his first, in my opinion. Like, yes, he brought in players last year, vets, but this is like the first what are you about type deal. That's how I look at this one. This is the real grade, in my opinion.
Ben Blue says, mailbag, did y'all see the debate that Dosa Dion had with that delusional ass Lions or Dolphins fan? Man said we're going to win 7-8 games. Excuse me. And that the Dolphins roster is better than ours.
I just don't listen to the people that don't know that. You know what I mean? That you just
I think that's just slappy fans, man.
You just turn your head.
Like if Dose, what'd you say, Klotz?
The Dolphins will have a top 10 pick next year.
For sure, yeah.
If we're gonna say Dolphins fans are saying that. What do you think the Cowboys fans are saying? I mean, it's like there's always fan bases that are way worse than others, you know.
But it's just like
In
when
terms
you
of
hear
fight.
those, shout out Dion too. But for me, it's we can argue with them. I would have just turned my head and be like, okay, bro, all right. At this point, you're delusional. There's no if you're telling me that, I promise you, there's no way to convince a fan anything.
That's fair. Jesse said, Sugar got work this weekend, Jeff, but it's okay. We knew it was coming. Marab is so damn good. I don't see him losing anytime soon. I don't see him losing at all. I mean,
he's got like that Volk where it's just like he doesn't fucking stop.
No, he's a sicko. He's an absolute.
He was taking hits too. I was shocked. Marab's good. I'm gonna bet on him every time he fights. Even if he loses, the next fight, I'm betting on him.
There's an argument.
You could
say he's the GOAT. You could say he's the GOAT of that division. He's the greatest.
I hope he fights soon so I can make some money off.
Greatest bantamweight to ever fight.
And Sean, the problem too now, Sean's he's I'm not saying done fighting, but where he was at, it's over. Like he is no longer
he's got a
Sugar
win.
Sean O'Malley. He's fighting. He's not on the main card. He might be on the main cards, but he's not the main event anymore. And
he's got to fight. He's got to fight 1 to 2 guys to get even a shot.
Yeah. And the problem is if he gets back to Marab, it's like you've already lost twice. Now what if you lose a third? To me, I think someone needs to beat Marab, and then Sean needs to step in and have a shot at that. But I don't know who's going to beat Marab. Who's going to beat him?
Yeah, they'll probably give Sean. He'll watch Sean. Sean will be in that. Like, I agree with this. Actually, it's a good one. Like Sugar is in that Dustin Poirier Yuri position. There's like guys that win. They'll clean out a division and then lose to this just one guy, and they can't beat him. That's like Sean. He's
real
gonna
quick,
beat a bunch of guys and keep losing to.
Does Jesse just always disagree with me? Are you saying Sean's going to fight for the belt again? Like he's going to be on a main card. He's not going to be He's not going to be on the final, the last fight like he was the co-main event. He's just going to be on the final card.
He'll be on a main card, but yeah, he won't be fighting for a title.
Not fighting for a title.
2-3 fights.
Yeah,
2 fights, I would say.
It's going to be a while.
Nice win. If he kicks someone really good's ass, he might get a shot quick. But
I don't want to see him fight Marab again. He's just going to lose. It's just like, how do you sell that fight?
Yeah, he all the hype with Sean too. He was like, I've changed my ways, and he still got his ass beat. I feel bad.
See, like Jesse's like Booner's doing it. Like Jeff's doing the same thing. Jesse, this is why I don't listen to his comments, man.
Yeah, Colby's a whole nother. Colby just fucking. I hated Colby Covington. That guy. Screw that dude. Speaking of that, Usman fights this weekend. But side note, we'll get out of here.
He does.
Hey,
what is he favored?
I honestly, Joaquin Buckley might whoop his ass.
Oh yeah, okay.
Watch out, Joaquin. He's a beast, man. And Usman's kind of washed too a little bit. I'm saying. All right, we'll get out of here. Appreciate you all. Appreciate Sean. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Until then, we will see you.
Peace. Love you guys.